tell me, kind of looking back on your term, what are you most proud of looking back on everything?
You know, it's been a whirlwind of activity over the last 4 years, and you know, an honor certainly of a lifetime to represent the people of the county of Monroe. And what I'm most proud of is every day just doing a little bit more to help improve the lives of the people of this community, our families, the businesses. But top priorities as I came in, certainly to look at making sure that we were providing economic opportunity for everybody in this community. So workforce development has been really one of the foundational accomplishments of our administration, working together, making sure that we're providing job training with our Ladders Up, national award-winning job training program for people who live here, to give them the opportunity to get the skills that they need to be properly trained, to get out and to work in our great companies that are here in Monroe County, who are really looking for fully trained, capable people to come in and to help those companies as well. So a huge win-win situation. Economic development has been a top priority. Making sure that we're providing those job skills and helping people who have not been engaged in economic prosperity move from being dependent on the government to being self-sufficient. It's a huge win for our families, certainly. Making sure that our finances are in good order. You know, all A's across the board, from our credit ratings, improving the credit ratings of the community. Our consecutive property rate cuts have been really great for this community, great for people, great for businesses. Our capital projects, when you think about the Seneca Park Zoo, top tourist attraction in the county of Monroe, it keeps people engaged, you know, in good things to do while they're here. It's also a great attraction for businesses as well. They want to know, what can we do when we live in Rochester and Monroe County? And we point to, you know, great attractions like the Seneca Park Zoo, our airport, you know, the vibrancy of Monroe County, the front door of Monroe County, from the time that the plane touches down to the time that you get through the gates, you know that this is an exciting place to be. So these are some of the accomplishments that we've had over the last 4 years, and I've been really honored to represent this community and make a difference.
Best part of the job, looking back?
Oh, the best part of the job, that's easy. It's the people. For me, it's always been people first. And you know, over the last 4 years as county executive, and the years before that when I served in a different capacity, I always found a way to be out in the public and to put myself in places where people wouldn't expect me to be. And people always said to me, well, why would you do that? Why would you, grocery shop in all four corners of the county and the city of Rochester? Why would you do that? Because it gives you an opportunity to really understand, what people need, what people want, to have that just chance conversation with somebody, and to get to know the people of this community. Because to me, that's what it's always been about, people first. And that's the part I'm going to miss the most. But as I look forward, I'm going to continue to stay engaged with this community, because it's a community certainly worth fighting for, and one that I've been privileged to and honored to represent.
So that's what you will miss. What's one thing you won't miss?
Oh boy. Everything about being the county executive has been tremendous. But if I can think of one thing that it's going to be hard to break this habit, is not, this is going to sound terrible, but not sleeping with my cell phone on. I used to do that with my kids were growing up, and it's a 24-hour job. And if there were 36 hours in a day, it would be a 36-hour job. So that's a good thing. But at some point, you do have to be able to at least close your eyes a little bit.
Right, definitely. Feel good to disconnect a little bit.
Well, only temporarily, because you still have those kids and grandkids that you worry about.
Of course, yeah. So, looking back, if there was anything, is there anything you would have done differently?
I talk about this all the time. You have a plan on what you want to accomplish, and then you lay out the steps to get there. And there's always opportunities to improve on something that you're working on, something that you want to work on, things that might arise that need your attention. So as I was county executive, I always looked at, what are we doing today, and what can we do better tomorrow? And so when you have that perspective, you're always looking forward, and there's always a chance to improve. And that's what we tried to do. I tried to do all the way through. If there's one thing, if I could change something, it's what I said just a few minutes ago. I mean, honestly, for me, this career path, this passion, this fighting for the community that I love was literally a 24-hour a day job. And if I could change anything, I would have made it 36 hours because there's always something to be done. And that's the beauty of having this position, is always working hard, always trying to do the right thing and doing a little bit more every day.
And as you're talking about kind of always being out there in the public eye
Mm-hmm.
and everything, what's something that people maybe don't know about this job that they wouldn't realize on the surface?
Well, it's being county executive is it's like you're the you're the fighter for everybody, and every person matters. Every issue is important. If it's important to you, and then it must be important, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't be bringing it up. And so, it's a lot of balancing, but it's mostly about making sure that you're taking into consideration every single person, right? And putting those people first. The other part that I think people, I think they realize, but it's the government that touches people the closest, right? It's all the services that are provided, all the quality of life issues that people rely on the county to help them with. But there's outside influences too, and I think that when people look at county government, one thing that they may or may not realize fully is the impact that the state has on county government. And so in my role as county executive, I was always fighting for and advocating for Monroe County first, because there will always be, someone or an entity from the state looking at the county to do more, to spend more, to take your tax dollars, to force you to do something that may or may not be in the best interests of the county of Monroe. And so as an elected official, something that I took very, very seriously is to make sure that we were advocating for Monroe County residents first, for Monroe County businesses first. Certainly always cooperating and working with other government entities, but keeping the people of Monroe County at the top of the priority list.
Right. And speaking of state government, there's 7 state senators
Right.
not running again in the GOP. Why do you think that is? And do you see a future for yourself there?
Well, when I think locally, 2 giants in this community, Joe Roebuck and Rich Funke, they have literally served all of their adult life in some capacity. I mean, Joe from right out of college all the way through to today, and that's a long time to be fighting and doing such tremendous work for Monroe County. And Rich. You think about Rich, and I know that he served in the state senate with distinction, certainly, but his years on television, he wasn't just the person who was in front of a microphone. He was a community advocate for years and years and years. So on behalf of a grateful county in Monroe, we just say huge thank you to both of those gentlemen. And I think that the time had come, that they had been fighting for a long, long, long time, and the time has come maybe to look at what does the next chapter look like for them. So I'm sad to see them go because I think they were huge advocates for this community, but I certainly understand their decision.
Right. And what's next for you with these seats opening up? Do you have any thoughts about that at all?
Well, I'm flattered that certainly my name has been tossed around in the Senate race, but I would not anticipate seeing my name on the ballot in 2020. I'm going to take a little pause and weigh some options that I'm considering right now, and what does the next chapter of my life look like, and in what way can I continue to make a difference in this community. I say this all the time, people make a difference and can give back and serve in so many ways, in small ways in our own family, on our street, in our neighborhood, in our churches, in our businesses, and in other ways as an elected representative. But if we all did a little bit more every day, this place would be even better.
And any of those options that you can share now that you're tossing around?
Well, I'm going to take a minute to kind of reflect on and really make the decision that is one that looks at what I like to do in the next, several years of my life and the next 10 years and so on and so on. So I'm going to be looking at different options that look at the skill sets that I can continue to provide to this community, making sure that people are working and economic development continues forward. businesses prosper. These are passions of mine. Our families do well. And so we can continue to do that in the private sector and in the public sector. But I would not expect my name to be on the ballot in 2020.
Okay. So talking about a couple specific things that have just been happening in the past few
Sure.
months. So green light lawsuit, where does that stand, and how are you feeling given the fact that it's now officially happening? It's enacted this week.
Well, you know, the lawsuit that I started here in the county of Monroe is still pending. That case will be heard at the beginning of next year of 2020. And so we'll see where it goes. I know that other municipalities had started lawsuits and they are up on appeal. I think there's a real constitutional issue, not to get too lawyerly about the topic, but I think there's a real constitutional issue about unequal treatment of people here in the state of New York. And I think that needs to be resolved. So we'll see what happens. You know, I've said this from day one. Immigration is a federal problem. It is a federal issue. And it would be my hope and anticipation that the members of Congress can come together as Democrats, Republicans, as American citizens, and figure out how to solve certainly that problem of immigration and make it work and make it work better for people. That needs to be done, and that would be my hope for the Congress as we go forward. But the green light legislation certainly doesn't help change what the federal look for immigration is.
So do you believe if something like this were to happen, it should be done on a federal level, or are you saying it should be consistent across the board?
I do. I mean, immigration is a national issue, and the green light law that's now law in the state of New York doesn't solve a national issue. It doesn't make people citizens. It doesn't confer citizenship. And I do think that on a federal level we need to resolve that. But on a local level, when I look at the green light legislation and now the law, the fundamental flaw in the law is that it treats people unequally. And equal treatment under the law is foundational in the United States Constitution and the foundation of the United States of America. So, we'll see what happens next year. And I really hope, again, that our congressional representatives can all get in a room and put their differences aside and really solve the national immigration crisis.
So the first responder harassment bill, obviously there was a lot of talk around that
Sure.
when it was going on, some pushback from law enforcement. So why did you decide to sign it?
So the intent of the first responder harassment law is to protect first responders, first and foremost. So whether you're a police officer, a firefighter, you're an EMS worker, you're driving the ambulance, these folks, these men and women, every single day are putting their lives on the line for public safety and to protect the people that they're serving. So the other half of the equation is to make sure that people who are receiving those services, somebody comes to your house, you need help, you call 911. You want to make sure that the person, the first responder who arrives, is able to do their job to save your life, right? And to protect the public that way. So the intent of the first responder harassment bill and now law is to protect not only the first responders, but also help protect the public in their time of need. So that is the intent of the legislation. I know that the legislation was proposed back in October. There's a lot of opportunity for people to weigh in and to voice suggestions. I'm glad that they're still continuing to do that. And certainly there'll be an opportunity for the legislature come January if they wish to make some changes or incorporate those changes. They certainly can do that, and that's the beauty of the law and legislation.
And when the protests were going on out here and the day of the hearing and all that, what was going through your head hearing what their arguments, what they were saying? Did that sway you at all?
Well, certainly anytime anyone has, an opinion, a concern, a suggestion, your role as elected representative of the people is to listen to those suggestions, comments, concerns. This is a democracy. And so I always encourage people to speak out and let not only the county executive, but your state representatives, the governor, If your city representatives, let people know what's on your mind. That's part of our civic responsibility, you know. But equally, we heard from people who were supportive of the legislation as well. So, you know, certainly for every person who came to the county office building, I certainly welcome them to continue on any issue, to come in and voice your concerns. That's, you know, this is your government. Come in. It's open government. But we heard from people who were very supportive of the legislation as well.
Okay. So kind of switching gears here to national news. What are your thoughts on the impeachment hearings going on right now? Obviously, a lot going on today as well. What's your thoughts on that?
So, you know, I've always focused on Monroe County first. You know, you have national politics, obviously, and national politics will certainly find their way into local politics. Sometimes it helps, it influences voting patterns for sure, you know. But what's most important to me is what's happening in our Monroe County, what's happening in the area where we can make the most difference. Because national politics aside, when you think about the 750,000 residents of the county of Monroe, what really impacts them most is what's happening right around them. What is their county government doing? What are we providing for the citizens? What are we doing each and every day to make their lives better? What are we doing each and every day to keep property tax rates down? What are we doing each and every day to make sure that businesses prosper in this community? That's always been my focus, is the local level. And then above that is the state level, to make sure that we're, you know, providing a check and balance to, you know, policies, procedures that come from the state to the county that, you know, are impactful in the lives of the people who live here as well.
Do you think what the president did was an impeachable offense?
You know, I haven't really, you know, delved into, you know, who said what, when, and where. I think there's an awful lot of politics going on right now. I really, you know, hope that as a nation that we can continue to move forward and that we find ways, Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, men, women, to work together for the benefit of this great country. Because things work better when we pull the nastiness out and we focus on what really matters. And here in this community, what matters most are the people. And I've always focused on that. And on a national level, it's the same thing. It's about what are we doing as a nation, you know, to help the people of the United States of America. And so when I look at what's going on nationally, you know, again, there's a lot of rhetoric, there's a lot of, you know, accusation. You know, I'm sure that they'll figure it out in Washington, but my hope is that they can somehow, both sides, kind of pull back on the nastiness and figure out how to continue to serve the people of the United States of America.
So what advice would you give to Adam Bello coming into this job?
You know, it's the same advice I give myself every single day, and that's people first. You know, the politics, you know, what's happening, you know, nationally, what's happening at the state, what's happening around you. There's always going to be activity swirling around, and opinions and conversations, and that's great. But you have to put people first. You have to make your decisions based upon the people who have supported you. The 750,000 people of the county of Monroe who are counting on you. So when you put people first, and every day you just try your very best, the rest will work itself out. And I would leave them with this. You know, this community is the best. The strength of Monroe County are the people who live here and call Monroe County home. And so when we put people first, all good things happen.
And what would be your message to Monroe County as a whole as you leave this job?
Yeah, so, you know, my message to Monroe County as a whole is I can't thank you enough for your trust and your faith and your support in me as county executive for the last 4 years. It has certainly been an honor of a lifetime. But more than that, for me, I want the people to know that I have enjoyed working with them, and they are always in my heart as I go forward.
And looking back on the last 4 years, how do you think this job has changed you personally?
Wow, that's a great question. So it has really, set the passion that was inside of me always for this community to a whole nother level. When you realize what you can do to really make a difference for the people who call Monroe County home, the possibilities are limitless. And what it has changed in me is I've always been a person who just rolls up my sleeves, gets the job done, kind of no nonsense, see what needs to be done, figure out how to get it done, and go on to the next thing, right? I think people would probably agree. But the other part of me is just that, the love of the people who are here, and the opportunity to have those relationships and to work with this community is something I will never forget, and I will certainly continue, in some capacity, like I said, whether it's private sector, in my neighborhood, in my family, there's always something more to be done, and that's what I take with me.
Okay, is there anything else?
No, I
you
think
want
we've
to
covered
add?
it.
Okay,